Hi everyone, welcome to EnYou Academy. So EnYou has decided to start a series of videos which is named under EnYou Tagore English Learning Club. So basically what I've seen students who are struggling to speak or to handle interviews because they lack the English language skills. When it comes to employees, there are people who are having trouble to reply or have a conversation or even writing a business mail. And this is a time of COVID pandemic, and I've also noticed a lot of mothers who have to spend a lot of time teaching their kids. Maybe they are not aware of English, and maybe this will be helpful for them too. So first of all, you should identify what is your gap, whether it is oral communication or written communication, and why you are having a gap. Is it the grammatical part? Or maybe you know the grammar. Maybe you have a problem in your oral communication when it comes to pronunciations. So basically, Tagore English learning is starting off with the basics of English, starting with the grammatical part, and we'll see where it leads us. Now, have you thought why you have a difficulty when you are having a conversation in English? Mostly, I would say the reason is you will think in your mother tongue and then try to translate in your brain. So that is the delay which is pulling you back when you are trying to have a conversation. Now, what I would suggest you is first you start improving your vocabulary, because the set of words should be there in your brain which would automatically come in English, not in your native language. Okay, so if that happens, I think the transition in your conversation would be much more smooth. So please go through a vocabulary every day, just 4 or 5 words. Take a dictionary and start reading every day. That is one thing which you can do. And try to practice. No matter if you go wrong or not, try to practice. Start speaking in English with everyone around you. So that would help you. Now, one thing you should understand is English is not a big hurdle for you to, jump or something like that. It is just like any other language. Now, if you can speak your own mother tongue, whatever be your native language is, English is also a language which you can speak very easily. English is not about the big jargons which you hear in many videos. The basic thing is you have to have a depository of few words which you can articulate using the proper grammar. Your basic foundation should be you should be able to communicate in a proper manner what you intended using English. That is all. So if you try, I think you can master the Indian English in a very easy way. You just need to focus a little. In fact, the English that we know of, you'd be surprised many of the words have been absorbed from many of the languages in India. It comes from different states, from the north, from the south. So why can't we speak English? Because we have a contribution knowingly and or unknowingly to the language of English. English is not a language which popped up in its current form on one fine day. No. I'll just share you the history of how English came into existence. Now we all know English is the language spoken by the Englishmen of the Great Britain. So this land of the so-called Britain that we know of right now, long years back, there were these few tribes who were settled in the the Germany that we know of right now in some areas, and they invaded this land of Britain. And basically the Angles and the Saxon, these are the two tribes who invaded Britain, and they brought with them two languages, that is the Celtic and the German. So the language that was in existence then after this invasion was called the Anglo-Saxon. We had the Anglo-Saxon community there. Later in the years ahead, maybe after 200 or 300 years later, the Scandinavians started invading this land of Britain. Now, when I say Scandinavians, they include the people who were settled in Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. And now what happened? They carried with them another three languages, which are Latin, Spanish, and French. Now, the mix of the existing Anglic and the Saxon languages, along with this current three languages, happened. So, it was actually called Anglisk at first, which later became Anglish, followed by the language called as the English. Now, there is something called as the Old English. If you take the texts or the literature of the Old English, we'll hardly understand what is being said in that. It is very difficult for the people who is knowing the New English to understand what is this Old English about. Now later this English being formed as such, many other events happened in the course of history, including the Renaissance, which caused some Greek words to be absorbed into the English, which I would say many of the words or the English itself became so refined because of the absorption of such words. Then we had the Industrial Revolution, science became everything being spoken in English. Then we had a lot of colonizations happening. We know India itself was colonized by the Great Britain, and that is how many of the Indian words also got absorbed into the language. So you see, English is not a language which was born on one fine day all of a sudden. It came into existence in a due course of time as a result of the mixture of a lot of languages. We have Arabic, Persian, all the languages coming in. Chinese language, for example, tea. Tea is not a language, a word which came from English all of a sudden. It was the influence because of the colonization in China that resulted in the entry of that word in English language. So this is all about English. See, I would say you would be successful in the language of English if you can frame a sentence without any errors in terms of grammatical rules, and if you can pronounce it properly. So basically what I would say is, rather than focusing on the big part, as we say, every tiny drops of water make a mighty ocean. Start from the letters. If you want to pronounce the sentence or have a beautiful conversations, remember the sentences are made up of words, and the words are made up of alphabets from A to Z. So if you don't know how to pronounce even the alphabets properly, how do you expect you can have a beautiful conversation with the pronunciation that you even look forward to? So there is something called as phonetics. You can see under each of these alphabets in a square bracket in some form of a code that is called as phonetics. If you have time, please go online, and I think there are around 44-45 sounds in English which are being translated in the form of symbols. So these are basically symbols that you see. So there are certain dictionaries also, especially the Oxford Dictionary and so on, which will give every word's phonetics also, so you know exactly how to pronounce it. The symbols for a, everything will be different. So that is how one way you can learn how to pronounce properly. So how do you pronounce the alphabets? This is A, not A, it is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. See, this is a common error that I have seen in people, that is W. It is not W. If you see, maybe you will be able to make it out. It is something different. It is double U. Okay, the U will come here, and before that it is the. Next we are going on to the vowels and consonants. Maybe you would have heard of the vowels A, E, I, O, U. So if there are words whose starting sound is similar to that of the vowels, I wouldn't say start with a vowel because I'll come to it. I would say which starts with the sounds of the vowels. That is A, E, I, O, U. Always use an before it. For example, an apple, an elephant, an ice cream, an owl, an umbrella. Okay. Now there are exceptions. For example, unique is a word starting with the vowel U. But here, unique, U, it's starting with the sound similar to that of Y. So there you will not use an unique. Perhaps you should go with a unique set. Next is consonants. So as I said, consonants are all the alphabets other than the vowels in the set of A to Z. So A to Z minus A, E, I, O, U, all those are consonants. Now, if the word is starting with the sound of A, E, I, O, U, it is not starting with the alphabets A, E, I, O, U, but when you try to pronounce it, it has the sound starting with any of these alphabets. You should go for an in this case. For example, honest. This is a case where H is silent. So honest, O, which is similar to O in the vowels. So in that case, we say an honest guy. Next, the other alphabets who does not sound like the vowels. For them, we use a cot, a loaf of bread, and so on. Next, we'll see about the rules of silent letters. Silent B. There are many words where B, the alphabet B, is silent. Now there are certain general rules which we can discuss here, which might help you to understand which of the alphabets might be silent when you are trying to pronounce them. Now the first rule says if the letter B is usually not pronounced after M at the end of the word. So after M, if the B comes towards the end of the word, you just don't even see the B. You can ignore the B. For example, comb. Comb is used to dress your hair, isn't it? So that is comb. Next is bomb. We know of the bomb that was used on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That is bomb, not bomb. B. The last B is silent since it's coming after M towards the end of the word. Next is thumb. What is a thumb? You can see in the picture, thumbs up. It is not thumbs up, it's thumbs up. B is silent. Next is climb. Climb the stairs. I was climbing the stairs when he called me. Climb. Crumb. What is crumb? Breadcrumb. The small pieces of bread or biscuit, cookies, they are called as crumb. Next we have lamb. Lamb is, you can see in the picture, something which looks like a sheep, isn't it? So lamb is a small one. What does the second rule says? The second rule says B is usually not pronounced before the letter T. So example, doubt. You don't say doubt, you say doubt. Just like B is not there, D-O-U-T, how will it be? That way you will pronounce it. Doubt means you are not convinced, you are having some doubt in your mind. I have a doubt about the maths tutorial which I attended. Doubt. So you want to clear it off, isn't it? Next we have the word subtle. It is not subtle, it is subtle. What is the meaning of subtle? Subtle means delicate or precise as to be difficult to analyze or describe. For example, his language expresses rich and subtle meanings. So something you cannot understand. Okay, some inner meaning is there. Or it can also be used in another context with the meaning making use of clever and indirect methods to achieve something. For example, he tried a more subtle approach. So that is what is subtle means. Next is, I'm sure many used to say this word as debt. No, it is debt. D-E-T. B is silent. Why? Because as per the rule, the B comes before T. Now you should understand all the rules which we are going to discuss. They are just a basic framework for you to understand. Mostly, in all the cases, most cases, this will be the rule which is applicable. There might be exceptions also. Okay. Next, another word in the picture is limb. Limb means what? Your hands, legs, these are all called as your limb. Next rule is silent C's rule. So we'll discuss some words where C becomes silent. Now the first rule says letter C is usually not pronounced when the combination SC occurs. When C comes together with S, you just omit C's pronunciation in that. That is scissors. If C is there or not, you call it scissors, isn't it? Next, what do we have? Ascent. A-S-C-E-N-T means you climb to the top. It is a upward slope or a path that one may walk or climb. Okay, so it is, the meaning is moving up. Next word, fascinate. SC is coming, isn't it? So fascinate means what? Fascinate means something which fascinated me, which helped me to create an interest in. That is fascinate. Next word, muscle. Muscle means you obviously know. We have seen people doing muscle shows, isn't it? The meat part of your body. That is the muscle. Then we have conscience. What is a conscience? Have you heard conscience? It's not conscience, it's conscience. Conscience means there are these situations where you ask yourself or you do something and your inner mind says, oh, this is wrong or this is right. Trying to tell you that moral part which judges the right and wrong part within you, That is your conscience. Okay. Then we have a word in the picture, descent, which is the opposite of ascent, which means moving down. Then we have scientist. SC comes in that case. Then crescent. Crescent means, have you heard of crescent moon? Crescent means a curved shape, an arc shaped, where the ends are pointed tips and the middle you have a little thickness. So that is crescent. Then scene, obviously you'll be knowing SCENE. And scent, it is not SENT, it is SCENT, the perfumes, the good smell, that is the scent of the flower. Next rule, C is mute, usually before the letters K and Q. If C happens to come before the letter K or letter Q, you just tend to ignore it. That is lock, LOCK. Block, acknowledge, acquit. So these are all examples of the second rule. Okay, next is for the silent letter D. Now the first rule says D is silent when it appears before the letters N and G. For example, you know each day of a week. But I've heard people say Wednesday. It is not wed, it is Wednesday. Just like men's day, Wednesday. D is silent because it comes before the letter N. Next we have a similar word, pledge. That is, you know what a pledge is? We have seen doctors taking a pledge, an oath. That is the pledge. Next is grudge. Never keep grudge with anyone. Grudge is bad. Grudge is that angry feeling that you keep within your mind towards something or someone. So that is grudge. Then we have sandwich. So that comes under the second rule. That is, there are few words in exception where D is not pronounced. Sandwich. It is not sandwich. Sand is there. That is the soil sand. But this is sandwich. So next time when you go and order, say, I need a sandwich. Next, handkerchief. You know, the piece of the small towel which you carry in your pocket. That is handkerchief. Next is handsome. You are a very handsome boy. So handsome. Next, edge. It is not edge. It is edge. Just skip D. The edge of the plain. The edge of the mountain. That is edge. Next we have dodge. Dodge is D-O-D-G-E. Dodge. Dodge means something is coming towards you and you just maybe try to avoid it by a quick movement. Maybe you'll try to sit or jump. So that is dodging. Okay. Next, bridge. So there also D is silent. Now, this is another word I've heard used wrongly, gadget. It's not gadget, it is gadget. D is silent. Next, hedge. Hedge is maybe in rural areas, mostly I have seen people mark the borders of their lands by growing thick bushes or trees, something like that. So that is called as hedge. Obviously, there are other meanings to it also. You can refer the dictionary in what all context, how you use the word hedge. Then we have badge. It is B-A-D-G-E, where D is silent. It is badge, plain badge. This is about the letter E being silent. Now the first rule is, if the letter E comes at the end of the words, it is usually not pronounced. That is for. It is not for, it is for. Table. We don't say table. We just say table. It just ends with the L. Before. Right. Give. Hide. Now you might be wondering if these alphabets are or these letters are silent, why use them, isn't it? But obviously their presence, the rules in English are like a big list. It is numerous. So for example, hide. You know it is hide because E comes at the end. If E is not there, it is hid, isn't it? So the same way, the presence of the letter is mandatory, but we have rules to differentiate. Next, the rule 2 is, if E occurs before the letter D, in the second or third form of verb, for example, fix is the first form, the second and third is fixed. So there, such rules come. That is, D is not, the E is not pronounced before the D. Board. The second and the third is board. Fixed. It's not fixed. E is not pronounced. It becomes silent. It's fixed. Smuggled. Begged. It's not begged. It's begged. So that is how the silent E rule goes. Next we have one rule each for the letters G and K. Let's first see the silent G rule. That is, if the letter G is silent when it appears before the letter N in certain cases. For example, design, D-E-S-I-G-N. The G is coming before N. Foreign, sign, align. We don't say align or G is silent. So that is the takeaway. Next, letter K. The letter K is silent when it appears before the letter N. For example, knowledge. We don't say knowledge. K is silent before the N. Knowledge. Knock. Knock the door. Night. What is this night? This is not the good night night. Good night night does not have a K. This night means in olden times we had these good warriors who used to go for a war. So they are called as the knight. Next is no. It is not know. People usually have some confusions about the words know and now. Know means to know something, to get to know, to understand. That is know. Okay, which has a K which is silent. Now means abhi, right now. Okay, so that is this point of time now, N-O-W. It does not have a K. So know the difference. When you go through words, know the difference of the words which sound similar to the word in front of you. Then we have campaign. Some other examples are also there in the picture to the left. Campaign, resign, champagne. That is champagne bottle. That's the champagne bottle. So always understand these rules apply. Next we have a silent GH rule. The first rule says, in certain words the GH is not pronounced if it comes after a vowel. Now what are vowels? If the GH comes after the vowels A, E, I, O, U, then you just omit GH. Don't use it to pronounce it. For example, hi. GH comes after the vowel I. So stop your pronunciation with I, H-I, hi. Light, L-I-G-H-T. The GH is coming again after the vowel I. Thought, Thought. U is the vowel followed by GH. So THOUT. How would it be? The similar way you have to pronounce it. So that is thought. The second rule states, in certain cases, GH assumes the sound of F. Draft. DRAUGHT. Draft. It is not drought. It is draft. Cough. When you have sneezing and cough. That is cough. Laugh. Laugh is what? Too much of smiling with sound is laugh. Tough means you are bold. That is tough. Elephant. Coughing. Bought. Enough. Telephone. Laugh. Thought. Photo. Graft. So these are all words where you should know the F sound in some cases are because of GH and in some cases it is because of PH. Okay. Next we'll go on to the silent H rule. The rule states that the letter H, if it comes after the letter W, it is silent. For example, why, where, whether, where. Here, the letter H comes after the letter W. Now just take a look into the word weather. Here, WHETHER means if or something like that. Whether you do it or not, it's up to you. So that is the meaning of this word. Now there is another word which sounds similar, that is WEATHER. That is also pronounced similarly as weather. Now what is the difference? This means seasons, or what is the climate? How is the weather outside? Is it raining? Is it sunny? That is WEATHER. Don't get confused. Next rule, H is mute if it comes at the beginning of some words. We have seen in the case of consonants, an honest person. So H was silent there. R, it is not har, it is R, an hour's time. I need an hour's time to complete the work. Air, HEIR, air. Air means it is not AIR, although the sound is similar. AIR is the air which we breathe in. HEIR means the person who is your air, who will take up your acids and your place once you are no more. That is your air. Honor. It is a great honor to meet you, sir. That is honor. Next is silent L and silent N. Now for letter L to be silent, if it comes after the vowels, it is not pronounced. For example, calf, half, it is not half, it is half. The palm of your hands, the inside of your hand, that is the palms. Would, should, folk. Folk is something related to your old culture, the folk dance, that is folk, the folk tales, the folk stories. Talk, walk. So these are all examples where L comes after a vowel and L becomes silent. Another word which comes under this rule is salmon. I think everybody used to call it salmon, but it is salmon. It's a fish. Chalk, the yolk. These are all typical examples. Next we have another rule, that is, if the letter N comes after the letter M at the end of the word, it is not pronounced. That is, if it is a combination of MN, N coming after M at the end of the word. So you see the word column, dam. So this is the example for the rule of silent letter N. Now if you see the picture on your left, you can see another words for the first rule, that is almond. It is not almond, it is almond. Calm. So salmon and almond. Please note these two words. Next we have the rule for the silent P and the rule for the silent S. Now, so the letter S, if it comes before the letter L, it is not pronounced. For example, I'll, the first word, A-I-S-L-E. S is coming before L, so S is silent, I'll. Now, what is the meaning of this word A-I-S-L-E? Now, aisle means a passage between rows of seats in a building, such as church or theatre, aircraft or train. So, it is a narrow passage that we mean. Next is island. It is not island, it is island. The third word is also pronounced as isle. But the difference between ISLE, isle, and island is, isle is comparatively smaller in size when compared to island. For example, we have this Isle of Man, which is a popular isle belonging to the British Isles. And we have islands like the Andaman and Nicobar, and we have island nations like Japan, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and so on. So it's basically a piece of land surrounded by sea or water. If the area is very large, we call it island. Otherwise, we call it isle, I-S-L-E. Now, don't confuse the isles, A-I-S-L-E and I-S-L-E. Both are different meanings. Next, we'll come on to the second part, which is the silent S rule. I'm sorry, the previous one was silent S and now it is silent P rule. So the letter P is not pronounced if it comes at the beginning of the words who has a combination like PS, PT, PN. So when all such combinations come, you just keep the P as silent. For example, Sam, pneumonia, pneumatic, psychologist. So here when you pronounce, P is silent. So when you write, make sure you are writing the P, that you don't miss it out. Next is silent T rule. The letter T is not pronounced in the following common words. Castle. It's not castle, it is castle. It means the place where the prince and the princesses live. Christmas. It's Christ, but the day on which Christ was born is Christmas. Fasten. Fasten your seatbelt or fasten the zip of your bag. That is fasten. You close it. Listen. You are hearing to someone. That is listen. Often, if I've heard in certain countries they pronounce it as often, but the English that we follow, we have to pronounce it as often. And the next word, a very renowned word, it's Chevrolet, not Chevrolet, please, it's Chevrolet. Whistle, make a sound, that is whistling. Hasten, hasten means to be fast. Soften. Rappo. I've seen people having a confusion. They know it is rappo, but when it comes to writing the spelling of the word, they go wrong. It is R-A-P-P-O-R-T. That is rappo. Ballet. Have you seen ballets? The girls in good dress who dances on their toes. That is a ballet dance. Similarly, we have few words in the picture, that is match, butcher, nestle, witch. You know witch? There is a picture of the witch there. The one who does black magic and all those stuff, that is a witch. A witch is the lady version, the feminine version. The masculine version is wizard. The opposite of witch is wizard. Next is silent letter U. The rule says the letter U is not pronounced when it comes after the letter G and before a vowel in the word. For example, guide. Here U comes after G and U comes before the vowel I. So it is not guide, it is guide. Similarly, guest, guard. Guard means to protect. Guess. Can you guess what is there in this box? You assume. That is guess. Biscuit. Tongue. Rogue. Wake. Guilty. Builder. A guitar. These are all other words where you become. Next is, when does W become silent? Now W is not pronounced at the beginning of the word when it is before the letter R. For example, write. W-R-I-T-E, write a letter. Now are you saying the right answer? That is R-I-G-H-T, completely different. Okay. Rest. W-R-E-S-T, wrestling. Have you seen wrestling on the TV? The gustis, that is rest. We have another word, rest, R-E-S-T also, which sounds similar. That is, you take a break and give some peace of mind for your body. You need rest after some tiresome work. That is different. Wrong. Opposite of right, R-I-G-H-T is wrong, W-R-O-N-G. Rack. Similarly, wrap. Wrap is you cover it up. That is wrap. Now the second rule is W is silent in some exceptional words like who, hose, whole, home, answer, sword, 2. TWO means the number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. TO is also 2. Then we have other examples in the picture. It's wrinkles. Wrinkles means when you get old, your skin gets flapped one on top of the other. That is wrinkles. Wren is a kind of a bird. Wrestle, yes, you can see the picture of a sumo. That is some form of wrestling. Wrist. Wrist is where you wear your watch, wristwatch. That is why it's called a wristwatch. So just to give a summary, few words are discussed over here. Silent N, that is autumn, dam, column. Few words with silent G, sign, resign, foreign. Few words with silent B, thumb, doubt, plumber. It's not plumber, it is plumber. Silent K, knock, now, knee. So knock, now, knee. Silent T, listen, mortgage. It is not mortgage, it is mortgage. Watch. Silent H words, R, ghost, honest. Silent W words, wrist, road, wrong. Silent L words, half, calm, talk. Silent U, guess, God, tongue. So go through a lot of words. Now we'll discuss the silent letters in all these words. It's Wednesday, so the silent letter is D. Condemn. N is coming with M towards the end of the word. So N is silent. Similarly for hymn. Hymn is a religious song or some praising song that we usually sing for God. That is hymn, religious hymn. Next is vegetable. Here E comes after G, so E is silent. It's vegetable, not vegetable. It is vegetable. Resign, G is silent. Yoke, L is silent. Almond, L is silent. Solemn, N is silent. Sword, it is not sword, it is sword. Sword, you know. Warriors used to use sword to cut during the wars. You take your head with a sword of the enemy. Limb, B is silent. Autumn, N is silent. Autumn is a season where you can see all the leaves fall off. Campaign, G is silent. Talk, L is silent. Assign, G is silent. What does assign mean? Assign means we assign our duty to someone. Assign this particular work to someone. That is assign. Tomb. Where have you seen tombs? Egyptian tomb. That is where the dead rests. Tomb. Salmon. L is silent. The last word, rattle. T is silent. Now you can try based on watching this video few questions. You can write 5 silent letter words having silent letters and identify the silent letters in them. Try to research and find. The next question for you is write 2 words each having the vowels A, E, I, O, U. Let them start with the vowels. Then write 2 words which start or only have consonants. There should not be any vowels, the letters A, E, I, O, U in those words. Find 2 words like that. And the last task is write 2 words which doesn't start with vowels. Okay, so it starts with a consonant but sounds like a vowel for which an can be prefixed. We know in the first actual slide when we started for the vowels and consonants. So those words which start with a consonant but which starts with the sound not that of the which starts with that of the vowel sound, you can use an. For example was an honest person. So find any other word similar to that. Okay, so I think that's it for today's session.